Good evening. I am now calling to order the work session of the Board of Education for Battle Creek Public Schools. Today is Monday, April 14th, 2025. It is 5:30 p.m. Will the Secretary please call roll?
Ryan Hogan Jackson.
Present.
Alicia Norman.
Present.
Art McClenny. Dr. Alicia Johnson. Nathan Graycheck.
Here.
Dr. Nicole Perry.
Present.
Charlie Fulbright.
Here. Here. As a reminder, tonight's meeting is being interpreted into Spanish thanks to our partners from both sides of Battle Creek. To listen in Spanish, please refer to the description on our YouTube live stream for the link. To our board members and other speakers, please remember to speak clearly and not too quickly so that our interpreters are able to keep up. Thank you. Moving on, I will now entertain a motion to approve the agenda. Yes, Trustee Perry?
I move to approve the agenda.
It's been moved by Trustee Perry, supported by Trustee Hoagland Jackson. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say yes.
Yes.
All opposed say no. Motion passes. The BCPS Board of Education recognizes the value of public comment on educational issues and the importance of allowing members of the community to express themselves on district matters. We have two opportunities on our agenda tonight for public comment. The Board of Education requests you fill out a public participation form with contact information. As you come up to the microphone, please state your name, and each statement made by a speaker shall be limited to a 3-minute duration. If the speaker represents a group, the person will be given 5 minutes to speak. BCPS Board of Education will listen, take comments and questions under advisement, and not respond at this time. Public commenters will direct all comments to the Board of Education and not to staff or other participants. Do we have any public comment? Thank you. Moving on to discussion. Student Showcase Music. Dudley.
Hello.
Hello.
Today I want to celebrate two students from Dudley who have been doing a fantastic job. They are great examples of our roar expectations we've been working on this year. They're resilient. They're always trying their best and trying again and learning from their mistakes. They're optimistic. They always come in ready to do music, ready to go. So excited. They're advocates. They help their other students when they're struggling or when they're a little off task. And they are, sorry, I didn't bring my notes this time. I should have. Reliable, thank you. Sorry. Reliable, as they always come in and are on task. They're always doing whatever we're doing with us. They're always trying their best. They do an awesome job. So I have, here to represent Dudley, I have Mia Moore and Cormac.
So, Cormac and Mia Moore, we are so excited to congratulate you. Thank you for being awesome students. And we have a letter here for you, Cormac, that I hope you will take with you, and a letter from the superintendent's office for you, and congratulations of all that you do. Thank you.
We also have a medal for each of you.
And we are so proud of how you represent Battle Creek Public Schools. Thank you for being one of our little Bearcat champions. All right, congratulations. All right.
And I have a few too. You're gonna get a lot of these. A little an award that says what happened, a little squishy fun trophy, and a little pencil for both of you guys. This one's for Cormac. And this one is for you, ma'am.
So do you mind if we take your picture? All right, so we're gonna hold your things here. I'll help you. Just turn it this way.
Yep, that's it right here.
And we're gonna have you face the camera that way. Put both hands on it because we want you to hold it. Uh-oh. We gave you too many
Too
things.
many things, too many things.
All right, come over this way a little bit. Hey. There you go. Parents, did you get a good picture? We'll wait for you. You good? All right. Congratulations. So it's President Fulbright, it seems as though our other schools are not represented this evening, so we will yield and hopefully showcase them in the next month.
Sounds like a plan. Thank you so much. All right, moving on to empowering excellence, progress and achievement at Dudley.
All right, good evening. I am Cassandra Query, the principal at Dudley. So I was reflecting before I came in here, the last time I came in here was when I got hired in to speak about being on board at Dudley. So I am so excited to share about our progress that we're making here at Dudley. So I don't know how to use this clicker.
You can do the arrows.
Okay. All right, so at Dudley, we have 187 students. We have 2 ECSC classes, which is our early childhood special ed. We have 2 morning classes and 2 afternoon. In the morning, they service the 3 and 4-year-olds, and then the afternoon is typically the older kids, so some 4, 5, and 6-year-olds in there. We have 2 GSRP classrooms. We have 1 cognitively impaired classroom at Dudley, and then we have 2 kindergarten, 2 first, and 2 second classrooms. So at Dudley, we've been really focusing on our literacy growth and our math growth, and we have made some great achievements since I have been here as the principal. So I have a graph. So I started in the fall of 23-24, and we had about 19% of students at or above grade level. And you can kind of see we've went up, we went down a little bit, over the summer, but in the winter, we took the test in February that we have 40% of our students at or above grade level. So that is a 20% growth of a change. So my teachers are working really hard. We're really working on interventions and putting those into place. And this is based off our STAR assessment, and we take this monthly at our school. And so we analyze the data and then create interventions based off of the specific needs of the students, and we're doing really good right now. So, yes.
Question about, so when you're talking about proficiency, you mentioned a bunch of different types of classes. Are you referring to like your
K2. So this assessment is only for the K2 students.
Okay.
Our CI classroom does take this assessment as well, so they are calculated into this as for that. But GSRP and our ECSE classrooms don't take that because it's just a K2 test. So thank you for saying that. That's a good clarification. So
I have a quick question too.
Yeah.
The CI classroom, what age or grades is that like?
our CI is for kindergarten through 2nd grade. So they're all kind of combined together. Yep, we have a more, I would say, kindergartners this year. I think we have 6, and I think they have 11 students in their classroom right now. So, yep. So I talked about a lot of our data, so with our literacy focus. So again, this is when I started, we had 43 students in our urgent intervention, and that's like the highest need, so they're about 2 grade levels behind. And this is from the STAR data that I was previously talking about. And so we have put some interventions in place. My students or my teachers typically work with the students who are in red by providing them interventions daily, 30 minutes a day, specifically on the skills that are that they're struggling with from the STAR data. So they work with them for 30 minutes during that specialized time with those skills. The red to orange, our literacy tutors work with those students 30 minutes a day, and they are provided, the lit tutors were provided professional development on the programs for stepping stones and sound partners, and they work with those specific students that need that intervention. And then the orange students, those work with our title tutors, again, based off of the needs that those students have. We kind of try to like them together, so they're all getting what they need. And then the green is those students who are at grade level. So if you see from fall of when I started to the winter of this year, we have made tremendous growth. We only have 19 students now in urgent intervention, and then we have a bunch that are in our at or above. Now this is just our STAR early literacy, our STAR reading, our students who are proficient in reading already, so they would be categorized in the at or above too. So we have a handful, I would say about 15 students who are taking that test right now. So we're working really hard at Dudley. So And then for math, we just started taking our STAR math this year. And so in the fall, we scored at about 27% at or above grade level. We've done a lot of work on that. I, as the principal, have modeled lessons on what good math instruction looks like using our direct explicit instruction. And have also went into classrooms to do walkthroughs to kind of check the boxes to make sure the teachers are doing what good instruction is. And so I feel that that is why we've done so well. We are at 42% of students at or above grade level for math, so we're moving along. And then our title tutors also had some time in their schedule, so they are pulling some of the, we call them the bubble kids, the ones who are really close to grade level, to kind of pick up some of those skills that they might be missing to get them to grade level. So that's something that we just implemented here recently. Something that has really kicked off at our school, we do positive office referrals. So we're trying to get 100 students to get a positive office referral, and we started in I think October, so they have to show the characteristics of ROAR. And every day over the announcements, I say at Dudley, we roar as one, we are resilient, we're optimistic, we advocate, and we are reliable. So those are the criteria for students to get a certificate. So this little guy showed one of those positive things. His teacher submits a form, and so then we announce it over the announcements. They get to come down to my office. I sign their certificate, we get to take their picture, and then it goes in our board. So, and their number is picked out of a random number generator, so we are so close to getting a 10 row and a 10 column that we're going to celebrate them when we get there, and then when we get our 100 too. So it's something that the kids love, and they love to come down to my office, because then I also do a call home. So they love all of those fun things. So some new traditions I have started at Dudley. We do once a month Dudley's Reading Day. We've had High Five Fridays, Green Eggs and Ham Day. We do a Dudley's reading program, and then we do our birthday celebration. So I just have some of the highlights here. So Dudley Reading Day, I started this last year. So once a month, visitors come in, we have them sign up, or we have a consistent group of people who come once a month on the the third Tuesday, and they get to read to every class. Even our special ed classes, who don't always are ready to sit and listen, but they come, we give them the opportunity. And so we've had North Avenue Church of God really loves Dudley, so they come out every month and read. We have the BC Battle Creek Police Department come for March's Reading Month. The district leaders have came. We've had the Battle Creek Central High School NHS students, the varsity athletes on there, and then also salon professionals wanted to come in. And there's a picture of Herb up there in the right-hand corner getting lots of love from those pre-K babies over there on the Dudley Reading Day. So one thing that I remember as a little girl, I remember the memories from elementary school, and I feel, yes, academics are important too, but these moments are really important to the kids. So I wanted to create a culture of things that I remember doing this at Dudley. So these are why these traditions are on there, because I want them to remember those fun things like I did when I was a girl. So High Five Fridays, we do it once a month. We have big visitors come. So we've had, again, North Avenue Church of God, district leaders, CIS, and then the varsity football team has come. We've had others too. And we all give high fives. The atmosphere in our building is great. The kids love coming to give high fives. So if you want to come one Friday, we can set that up, and all the board members could come and give high fives. The kids love it. And it's a great way to start their morning. And the staff enjoys seeing all their bright faces as well. So this is one of my favorite days. We started this last year, our Green Eggs and Ham kickoff for March's Reading Month. We did that last year, and we also did it this year. And so it's creating community, creating families to just be together, to socialize, to have all that time together. We provided Green Eggs and Ham for them. They got to use one of the coins to buy out of our vending machine. We did a door decorating contest for the classroom. The teachers did it, and the families went around and voted that morning, and the teacher got a gift basket who had the most votes. There's books provided there. They got goodie bags. We had Green Eggs and Ham playing in the background, and it's just my favorite thing, because I get to go talk to the families like when it's not It's not school time. And it's from 8 to 8:40. And this is our biggest turnout, is in the morning. We had 36 families participate, and there was 99 people there. And then there's all of my staff. We got shirts to match, and so it's just fun to be able to, outside of school, to see all of our kiddos. And we had drawings too to incentivize for them to come. So another big push I started last year was our Dudley reading program. So we kicked it off at our Green Eggs and Ham event, and so people read books at home. They have a reading log to hand in. When they hand it in, it has 5 books on it, and if they hand it in, they get to get a coin out of the vending machine. And so our goal from now until the end of the year is to read 2,000 books, and we've read 1,000 books. I had one student over spring break, her name is Gemma, who read 65 books. And so she got like 15 coins, and so she came and participated. So last year we started this in December, and we read 5,000 books at home. So we were just really pushing literacy at Dudley, and the kids like to come down. They're like, Miss, where I get my coin today? And I'm like, yes, let's go pick out a book. And so I get to do that with them, and that's really fun too, to see them pick out their books and stuff like that. And then we also kind of kicked off birthday celebrations. So in that month, if it's their birthday, they get to sit at a birthday table, they get cupcakes from the district, and we get to sing happy birthday. And so kids at lunch, because I'm in there, they're like, Miss Ware, when is May coming? Because they are like, I need you to celebrate my birthday. So they just really enjoy this, that they are celebrated. And we also announce it over the day it is, over the intercom, and they get a pencil and to get out of our vending machine, you know, so they really enjoy that. Besides all those fun things, our staff is working hard. These pictures are actually when I go through to do my principal walkthroughs. And so I've been taking a picture of the engagement that our students are doing. I print it off for the teacher with a little note of the things that they're doing well, and maybe a suggestion of, hey, I noticed this, how about you try this? But I want to show that every kid is learning every day. This is posted out on our board for parents to see that we're seeing this. And this is what I'm seeing, is this engagement on here. And so I'm proud of where our teachers are and the engagement that we're doing. And we are working hard, but we also have a little fun. Over Christmas, before Christmas, we did a rock, paper, scissors challenge as our staff, and it was a very great thing to do at Christmas. They all had a bracelet, and they had to rock, paper, scissors shoot everybody, and then whoever had the most bracelets at the end of the day won. I've never seen teachers run that fast because they didn't want to be challenged on the rock, paper, scissors, so they couldn't do it during instruction, so it was like in passing time or at lunch. So Courtney, one of our lit tutors, she got a $50 gift card to Red Lobster. So like it was a great time to kind of bring the morale up at Christmas, you know, so it was fun. So we do work, but we do have a little play in there as well. And then our students are working hard. A lot of these are, again, my walkthrough pictures, but some of these are those kids whose scores have went up for reading and math and STAR, and so we're really trying to show the growth at Dudley and to make them feel good about what they're doing at school. And so it's just a great place at Dudley, and you know, I'm very happy to be there, and we're doing a great job there. So you guys have any questions? I talked really fast, sorry, it's not me. Yes.
For the birthdays, I think that's really great. Do you do anything by chance, like a summer birthday day? Like,
We will in May. So we coordinate with the cooking. Michelle Morrissey, she sends us cupcakes. So yes, we will definitely probably do them for the summer, because we did August at the beginning too. So yes, yes, because my son's is in June too. I want him to be celebrated.
Yeah, absolutely.
July, so you never forget July.
Sits with us.
So this might be early. I don't know if we've thought this far ahead, but I'm looking at this, and this is really good work, and I'm thinking about the transition with Dudley and where it may, what it's transforming to. So I'm curious, what's our change management, our transition, like how do we preserve this Northwestern, you know what I mean? So what are we doing?
My plan would be to talk with the principal at Northwestern and to kind of share strategies that we've been doing at Dudley. As a principal team, we talk all the time, so it would be like, it looks like interventions are working, so that I could share those with them, or whoever is doing that, and to make sure that they know what we're doing, because it's been working over there. And At Principal PLC, I think we talk a lot about that, so hopefully we're all doing some of the stuff, so, yeah.
Excuse me, I just want to say, I think you talked a lot about the morale, and I think that's so huge, especially nowadays, and how morale can influence math and reading scores and just the culture of that school. And I was smiling the whole time you were giving this presentation. It was, if I didn't have a job, I would love to work for Dudley, because it seems like you guys have a lot of fun there, and you still are improving on scores. So.
And like, I'm out at Arrival every day, and I say hi to everybody, and I try to, and over the announcements, I'm doing the announcements, because I like them to hear my voice and to come up and get those coins out of the vending machine. And so like, that's kind of my passion, to make sure that I am impactful to the students too, so.
Great job.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
Yeah, I was just throwing a comment. Kudos for the great change and growth, for that to be like in a year time that you've doubled in all of pretty much math and reading from what I see. Kudos for that, and great job driving the culture. And as I always say, every time I see you, my daughter absolutely loved you, so I'm not surprised that you're having great outcomes at the principal. So.
Thank you. I am really enjoying it, so.
Thank you so much.
All right, thank you.
Good job.
Okay, moving on to budget and finance update, BCPS update. Dr. Carter.
Yeah, so we have 2 items under the budget and finance update. Before I go into the BCPS update, I'd like to start us with the CISD budget, because that's just something that we need to talk about and approve. So each year, the ISD submits their general fund budget to each of the local districts for review and approval. And then we are asked to adopt a resolution that supports the 25-26 general fund budget that is presented in your packet. And so, Director DeMott, do you have anything to add around this budget, if you want to?
I just wanted to point out that with the uncertainty with the federal financing, they have accounted for that in their 25-26 preliminary budget. Their revision for federal money was $11,980,000, and on their preliminary for 25-26, it's just under $5 million. So they're being conservative, making sure that they're accounting properly for the changes that may come. And to counteract that, there have been some reductions in instructional support staff. They took about $500,000 off of that line, and also on community services. So they are being, like I said, conservative and well aware that things could possibly change.
Conservative approach to the budget. Any other questions regarding the ISD budget? All right, then it will be submitted for adoption at our next meeting. And it is a resolution, so it will require a vote, but this gives you an opportunity to get your questions answered, look deeply at the information provided, and then we will put it on the next agenda.
So I have a question. When we say that they're making reductions in instructional, can you translate that to what that might mean for us? Meaning, like, so are our special education teachers, for example, funded by that particular? So is that this, okay.
So it impacts the staffing that they the direct hires for the Calhoun Intermediate School District. So the way in which special education funding works in our county is that it's a pass-through reimbursement. So we hire the teachers, we determine, and then we get reimbursed for them. So that impact is on their direct hires.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Good question, though. Others may have been thinking that.
And I was at the last meeting when we talked about the budget, and they still are committed to reimbursing us at 100%, even with the potential shortfalls. Thank you.
Well, with that, we're going to go in. So that's a perfect segue into budget and finance discussion for Battle Creek Public Schools. This is my update to just provide an opportunity to create understanding about how we are approaching the budgeting process for Battle Creek Public Schools in in preparation for the 25-26 school year. As you can see, at the ISD, they've been really, really conservative because it is significantly uncertain. We have lots of uncertainties around federal funds, and so they've cut their budget by almost 40% in that space, and so it gives you an understanding of what's also happening here. It's like a domino effect. So what's happening, and why are we having to take a conservative approach to budgeting? First, we have a decline in at-risk funding. It's almost like everything's happening all at one time instead of just a little bit at a time. So direct impact on funding. So there's a 7.5% statewide drop in economically disadvantaged students. Well, why does that matter? The way in which we calculate economically disadvantaged has changed in the state, which leads to a less number of students actually qualifying as economically disadvantaged, simply because the rules have changed. Not because students aren't economically disadvantaged, but the way in which they are categorized has changed. As a result of that, the funding, which is called at-risk dollars, have also been decreased. So because at-risk dollars are given to a district based on a per pupil funding. So if the number of students that are identified as economically disadvantaged goes down, so too does the funding. So we are looking at a reduction in our at-risk funding, which is a direct impact on our budget. We are also looking at economic instability. So as we are having our budget conversations across the state as school district leaders, what we know is that when there's instability in our economy, that also has an impact on school funding, because a lot of our revenues come from taxes and things like that. And given that there's some instability in that area, there's a lot of uncertainty about what the per pupil funding will be for the upcoming year. So that's another incident or another issue that we have to take into account as we set the budget. Federal policy uncertainty. So there are lots of threats to federal funding, and no one can guess what that means. We just have to be conservative around what we can expect, but we do understand that there will be some decreases in federal funds that come in the form of title funds. Title funds are supplemental dollars that are given to districts to support our students that are situated furthest from success. And we are recognizing that there will be some shifts in that money as well. The other piece that we have to think about, this is a lot, and please stop me because this is work session, so if there are questions. We received $45 million of ESSER, or what is known as COVID relief. Battle Creek Public Schools was able to kind of wean our way off of it, but those dollars are ending, and so all of the supplemental programs that we were able to add, given that that's not continuing, those programs will need to be discontinued. And so, but the way we want to discontinue programs is really thinking about the return on investment, what has had the greatest impact on student achievement, and where can we make reductions that are furthest away from the classroom. That's the commitment that we're making in terms of trying to create these decisions. Yes.
So thank you for that, because that was one of my questions. Which of the funding was most of that, or the programs, I guess is still one of my questions. So what programs, for a couple examples, were funded by ESSER that, for context? And then, so I'm trying to understand the extension part of it, right? So we were...
That's another one.
Oh.
I'm going to talk about
Okay,
that.
gotcha.
That's even separate and apart from all
Gotcha.
of this.
Okay.
So thank you for raising that up. So that would be number 7 on this list. So I could go on. But what I'm talking about in terms of ESSER is we were able to, let's say, put 2, 3, 4 Bearcat coaches in every single building that we wouldn't have been able to do in the absence of that added funds. We have tutors in almost every classroom. We would not be able to do that in the absence of those additional supplemental funds. We've added additional behavior supports. We've added additional academic supports. So you think about the things that are beyond just a classroom teacher. Those are supplemental programs that are funded by added dollars. And so all of those have to be looked at to determine which ones stay. Is it total program or is it partial? Those are all the discussions that we have to have, and we will put forward a budget after we are hearing from our internal stakeholders about what they believe is going to be the best support for them to continue to get the type of academic outcomes that we all want. Right? But we can't keep it all, and that's the hard decision that has to be made. So now, to Dr. Johnson's point, separate and apart from that is the $3 million in the news that is the ESSER extension funds. Now, what is that? The ESSER funds were those, we used a lot of our COVID relief dollars. Out of the $45 million, a significant amount of it went towards air quality in our schools. HVAC upgrades. We've never been able to use federal dollars to do that work. This was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, and so many schools across the nation use the funds to actually do that type of work of improving the air quality in schools. Because thousands of schools were doing it all at once, we ran into labor and equipment shortages. That is the only problem that we ran into. And so some, specifically a vendor around some of the equipment we needed for the HVAC system was not available. So we petitioned the state to say, we've signed contracts, it's all on order, and if you remember, the board approved early packages. Remember, we ordered all that and got it all in. For the most part, we did a good job on that, but then there were shortages. There were just pieces of equipment we couldn't get our hands on. So the state said, oh, we know you're gonna finish the work. We're gonna allow you to finish the work that has been started under the contracts, knowing that it wasn't anything that you just didn't do. It's just labor shortages and equipment shortages. You know that you're gonna get all that in, sign this extension, go ahead and continue the work, okay? Then recently, it was, I don't have a professional term for psych.
That's it.
So it was an automatic reversal, sorry, even though you've already got the work going, you signed the contracts, we've decided that no, we're not going to pay you out on that. Now, this is a reimbursement process. So we spend the money, we get the reimbursement, and what we receive notification is we're no longer going to reimburse you for the funds that we did commit to.
Did we already spend? Have we already spent?
Good question. Of the $3 million, we've spent 1.2, and we've already drawn down, and so we have about $2.5 million, give or take, that the equipment's on order, supposed to be here, and the work was scheduled to be done by May 2025. So we're still needing to draw down $2.5 million.
You said we have pending contracts too, right?
Correct. So
It wasn't a
we're
clause
going
of
to,
in case they say psych and you can't.
then we will absorb
Yeah, right.
those costs, because the work is already underway. It's not like you can just say, I'm not gonna finish it.
It's a bridge-year contract.
Correct.
And are we? This is just. I'm sorry for all the questions. I'm just
No,
trying
that's
to.
what, this is a work session.
Right. So are we only able to reimburse when a project is done? So this is my ultimate question. So this is, I know this is like looking back, please don't hear it as like pointing fingers. I really just want to understand like mitigating, how we can mitigate our risk and strategy. So we could have probably predicted that anything associated with COVID might be at risk because of the current government, right? Not necessarily believing in.
You can't draw down money that you haven't spent.
Right, so we have used some of it though.
Mm-hmm.
Could we have requested reimbursement for what we have already spent?
We did get that money.
So we did, so there's nothing, you're saying we promised to do something, but there's no money that we've spent already, just plans that we had.
So do you want to kind
Am
of
I making sense?
So you're asking, could we have gotten the money in advance, knowing that?
Not in advance. I want to make sure that we haven't like paid for a project and then we just haven't sought the reimbursement for it yet because we knew we had the extension. Do you know what I'm saying?
Correct. So it's like, did we take our time asking for the reimbursement?
Yes.
Yes, no, we are
Okay.
timely in our drawdowns. Now, when we went to draw down the next level of money, it has disappeared in the system. So we've done our work, we've done what we were supposed to do.
Yeah, okay.
We've crossed our Ts and dotted our Is, it's just no longer available to draw down.
Gotcha.
And
Perfect.
so
Thank you.
the board's attorney, we're sending him all of our information, and as you have heard, the state, Dana Nessel,
Yeah.
is suing on our behalf, and we're still confident that there'll be, I'm still remaining hopeful and confident that there'll be some sort of workaround to give the district back the rest of the funds. But I want people to understand that that's not in the calculation of our budget reductions. That's separate and apart.
Okay.
The budget reduction is as a result of all of the other added needs that we will no longer have access to, and what we should anticipate as a significant reduction in the funds that are coming our way. So I think going where you were going, we're anticipating not having, and so we're not going to pad our budget as we have in the past. We're going to have to be much more conservative, right? Another question that has come our way, well, that's on the next slide, but the other, number 4, is rising retirement and other benefit costs. So as a district, we pay what's called the hard cap. There's a certain amount that is set by the state on how much we pay for each employee's insurance. That cap has gone up. That means that districts are required to pay more. That's not a bad thing, but we have to budget for it, right? And so as a result of rising healthcare costs, the district's funds are increasing to that, and retirement, what we are required to put into retirement is also increasing, which is creating additional expenses. So as Trustee Nordman has stated, it's a lot of things happening, unfortunately, all at one time, requiring more difficult conversations about the budget.
I have a question about number 1.
Yes.
You have that indicated it's a statewide drop. Do we know how we are trending with the statewide drop? Did we have more at risk, funding usage, less? Are we on par? Because you say it's a 7.5 drop. Is that translating over to us to be about we're anticipating that amount?
Yes. So in a dollar amount,
I don't need that level of specificity, but are we like on
Yes.
par with that? Like, yeah, that'll be about what it hits us with.
the number that I looked at from year over year is about a 6 to 7% decrease. Yeah, that was the same number that I looked at as well. But I think for the importance of this conversation, that's anticipated to hit us at about a $300,000 decrease in funding. So overall funding in that space.
Excuse
Other
me.
questions about the emerging fiscal risks? Does that answer about the ESSER as well, I hope, in terms of?
Yes.
Yeah, so it wasn't anything, it's just equipment didn't get here. All of that work is still scheduled to be completed in May of 2025, and we're just hopeful that between now and the time that we want to draw those funds down, there'll be some resolution.
So the first
month?
two. Are the first 2 state budget driven, and
Yes.
then 3 being standalone, just federal? Okay,
Yes.
and then 4 probably more so state.
The majority of our funding comes from the state, and so just trying to point out that normally we're just dealing with 1 bucket, and today we're dealing with 4 buckets. So this is not unique to Battle Creek Public Schools. If you open up education in Michigan, every single district is talking about deficit funding and trying to right-size budgets. Some more so than others. So right now, what we're going into the year with is a $2.8 million operating deficit. Individuals want to understand where that comes from, and most of that is in personnel because we've kept our class sizes really, really low, because we were able to use supplemental funding to support that. In the absence of that, you're not going to be able to have classes that small. Not saying that we're asking for big, we just may have to go back to contract sizes. Okay. So it's different at every grade level. I think it's 26 for 3rd grade, 28 for 4th and 5th. I don't know off the top of my head, but we'll definitely get those out for you. Right? We don't have class sizes of 30. That's not in our contract. That's the good news. And most districts do. So what's our challenge? 80% of our budget is personnel. So the remaining 20% is operations, transportation, supplies, maintenance, and programs. And so you can't cut supplies, pencils, crayons to the tune of $3 million. And so it's going to require us to really think about a reduction in programming. That's going to be necessary in order to achieve the aim of a balanced budget, given all of the funding uncertainties. So our strategy is to engage in proactive planning to maintain financial stability while prioritizing student success. We want to minimize the impact on students and staff where possible. And we want to prioritize reductions through attrition, strategic reassignment, and targeted program reductions. So what you don't see up here is a lot of layoffs or anything. We don't want to use that language because we believe that we have enough open positions that strategic reassignment and attrition will account for the majority of the moves and changes that we make. And I'm committed to maintaining transparency and fiscal stewardship. So one of the questions that I'm asking, this is listening tour season. So when I meet with staff, I ask them, what is the one thing you believe should be protected in the budget? And what is the one thing that you think we could live without? And so taking all of that information in, we'll use that to really think about how we do these reductions. So the budget for 25-26 is to, I have asked executive leadership who are over departments to identify a 2% reduction and a 4% reduction. So it's kind of like a best case, worst case scenario. 2% would be $1.5 million and 4% reduction would net $3 million in savings. This is just general fund. So I also want to be clear about that. This is not including the federal grants. That will be an additional reduction because we don't know how that's going to hit us. But just from the general fund, we're looking for 2% and 4% reductions. So we're looking at personnel costs, operational efficiencies, program and services, and then technology resources. Those are the framework for decision making. And we know that this process requires courage, collaboration, and innovation. We want to prioritize students while making responsible decisions, and we are committed to leading with integrity and fiscal responsibility. Budget adjustments are due tomorrow.
That is true.
Then in May, we will present to the board a preliminary district proposal. It's approved in June by law. We have to have a budget approved by June 30th, and then we implement in July.
So how does our surplus come into play here?
Yes.
So your what?
Our surplus.
Okay. So we can always leverage that for non-recurring expenses. So if there are one-time funds of importance that we need to purchase something or do, that's what we would use it for. But you never want to use it for a recurring expense. And so if there's something of an emergency, like we want to, we don't have the funds for a roof, or we don't have the funds for some of the things that are not included in the bond, we would use some of our surplus for that. But in this day and age, I would say we want to keep a high fund balance because there are too many surprises coming our way. And the fund balance actually is why we probably should be cutting even more, but because of the level and the healthiness of our fund balance, we've been able to do this in phases. So this so thank you for that question, because I want to go on record to say this is phase one. of the right sizing of the district. We will have to come back and have this conversation again in the fall, which will be phase 2 of right sizing the district to make us whole and financially sound.
2 questions. So I was just telling some colleagues earlier as we were like making some adjustments regarding the executive orders. But one thing this has really made me think about is how dependent we are. And I realize it just is what it is, right? It's public education, whatever, right? And it makes me think about diversifying like funding and other opportunities, or if there are ways that we can be creative. So, and you may already be thinking about this, but if there are some restricted grant funds that we have that could be repurposed for something that's essential and we can get creative, I'm worried about that. I'm also curious if we have considered, and you probably have, it might be a no, but some gap funding from the Kellogg Foundation. And it also makes me curious about how our foundations can support some of these needs, like BCP, the foundation that we have. And I know that
Battle Creek Community Foundation?
no, the
Education Foundation.
yes.
Oh, BCPS, yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
like, is there a way that could be utilized to support some operational needs? I don't know, right? I'm just thinking creatively, maybe not in its current state, but I don't know, right? So it's just making me think about that. And then one other question I have, the facilities budget is separate from this, right? So we're talking about our operations, our core operations. So this would be separate from like budgeting around buildings that we have that are being utilized, that we're keeping, you know what I mean? These are separate things, right?
Not necessarily, so I want to make sure that we're clear about that. So in terms of, does our overall general fund budget covers if we have to have the security on or lights for any
Correct.
events? Absolutely, that's in this
That's in
budget
there.
as well. But it's very minimal.
Is that the
to a
20%?
point,
Is that 20% you were?
Probably like 2%
Okay.
of the overall budget is in a unused building. And so we don't use funds to actually do anything but maintain them at the least level
Right.
of operations for us.
Okay.
So we're not putting money into those buildings.
Okay.
Yes.
Have we met with union leadership to discuss these requisitions?
Those conversations are ongoing right now. We are in negotiations, and one of the negotiation stances that the district has taken right now is that we don't know. We have such uncertainty that it's hard to determine what compensation levels will look like next year.
My next question is the bonus, the sign-in bonus, retention bonus, will that be affected?
Yes, so that goes back to Dr. Johnson's question, which is around, we have some of these restricted grants that we're going to think creatively about how it might supplement the impact of some of these other things, like, well, I don't want to bargain out loud, but you understand, right? I almost went in there, but to your point, it's almost like saying, let's lay out all of the funding pots. What do we want to accomplish? And then how do we use these different funding pots to accomplish that goal? That's the strategy that I take and have taken over the years, which is how we've been able to have creative programming. So,
I have a question. So as we're talking about, impacts on the individual schools, I want to make sure I'm probably like nobody in this room wants to think about this, but will this building be impacted? Will there be cuts and reductions in like admin at the top?
they actually are starting the cuts. It starts with them before we even talk to the buildings. So thank you for that, because it's really, to be clear, buildings aren't cutting anything at this moment. It's all the district department leaders first, and then that will tell me what we need to cut at the building level. They don't even have budgets to look at, because we wanted to make sure that we trimmed at the district level first to model, making sure that we are making some hard decisions.
Yeah, especially when we start talking about like sign-on bonuses and things like that. I was like, they would probably appreciate that, seeing it coming from the top.
Absolutely. And to put it in perspective, just because I think transparency and understanding for board members is important, the only individuals that have access to a signing bonus are teachers, teachers and building principals. Central office, staff, professionals, our secretaries, that has been one of the concerns, is that they don't have access to that pot. But when we wrote the grant, we talked about who did we need to retain most, and that's the classroom teacher. And so it was written in that space. Right? And so I would love to expand like the housing incentives. I get that request all the time, but there are only so many dollars. I also wanted to circle back on Dr. Johnson's conversation, and the interesting thing is I have had conversations with philanthropy, and their requests for supplementing organizations is through the roof. So because of it's impacting everybody, so we won't be able to ask for levels, because where they were maybe supporting 5 organizations, now they're trying to support almost 50. So what the conversations in the community are about is they even have to prioritize what gets funded, who gets supported, because think about the number of organizations that were just having to close their doors because funding was cut directly off. So there is this ripple effect. So what we're going to do is just be good stewards of the dollars that we are receiving and make sure they have maximum impact. Maximum impact. So there will be things that were great ideas and really, really good, and then there are essential services. So we're going to start with essential services and then add on based on the return on the investment.
I have a real.
I'm just going to let Charlie make all those decisions.
You can take my pay.
Gotta have a little levity.
Yeah, we all are giving up our pay. So I have a left field question, and you may not have the answer to it, but since we have so many districts in this area, and as the squeeze is coming from federal funding, is there going to be conversation around what that looks like as far as Battle Creek and support as a city?
So I would say that as superintendent of Battle Creek Public Schools, my responsibility are the children that we serve. I think there should be a community grassroots conversation. I'm not certain who is best positioned to bring people to the table, but as board members, governance, community members, to think about what might your role be in starting those conversations for consolidation and collaboration beyond what we're doing here. So I appreciate you putting that in the atmosphere, because it's a call to action around where might those conversations start in this community to really begin to think about what's best for the city as a whole. The city as a whole.
Well, I know we're getting ready to hire a new city planner.
A manager,
city manager, and I'm wondering, will we be partnering with the city to look at like the outlook of, population growth here, how that's going to affect student enrollment over the next 5 years, and those types of things.
We've had the Yes We Can, the Battle Creek Vision, we could name them all, but those are the sorts of grassroots movements that need to be having the conversations around this. Because honestly, superintendents don't have control over that. I have no say, and neither do you as an individual board. It actually has to go to a vote of the entire community, and so where do those conversations begin? I don't even think it's worth my effort because I have no control over it, but somebody at some point needs to begin to have those conversations as community members.
And was it a recommendation, or at least to explore, in the study that was done
8 years
several
ago.
years ago?
Yes, it was 8 years ago, and see how much has happened since then. So,
BC Vision?
Yes, but there was one even before that. So, but BC Vision, it was the New York University study that talked about, and I think at that time they really felt the temperament of the community, that there was no readiness for it, and so it really then pivoted and talked about what could happen to support those students who are situated furthest from success. That was the impetus for the investment in Battle Creek Public Schools.
To be clear, we're talking about like consolidating districts?
Yes.
As an option? Okay. So one thing that I have found that's actually a statewide problem, Michigan, the population compared to the number of school districts is very lopsided. So it's a massive problem.
So about 3, maybe 4 years ago, the state tried to put out grants, and they were doing all these consolidation grants, and that was supposed to be the carrot to get, and that didn't work. So they've tried a bunch of different strategies because there are 650 plus districts in the state of Michigan.
It's like fourth in the nation.
Yes. And so when I talk with colleagues in other states, they're like, how big is your district? And then we have districts of 500 kids and districts of 300 kids. So yes, it's a statewide problem to your point, and it's more of a, I would say, a governance issue in the city. It's a political issue. It's a political issue.
It's a race issue too, and socioeconomic and all the things.
All the things.
And no matter how much money the state throws at it, that ain't gonna make no change. We see what that leads to. So I was just curious. I didn't mean to take us down the rabbit hole.
Oh, this is work session, so we're having a discussion to understand, because we want to make sure that people have all the information they need to understand the why behind some of the changes. It isn't that we haven't been doing great things. We have amazing programs. We are continuing to build, and we can't let this look as if we still aren't doing great things in Battle Creek Public Schools. And so that's the message that I want to send. We will continue to offer high quality, rigorous programming. We will continue to offer in-district choice. We will continue to work on improving engagement and academic achievement. And we're going to reduce some of the ancillary programs that are not directly connected to these amazing programs that we offer in Battle Creek Public Schools. We are not giving up our International Baccalaureate program or our high school career academies. It's the supplemental programs. We may not be able to have, 100 tutors. We may have 50. We may not be able to have, I don't want to just start putting people on the chopping block, but you understand the concept. Right?
One thing that I learned from a class at NSBA, and it's to Trustee Nordman's point when she brought up the union. Aside from bargaining, I think the union is our biggest ally in support for maneuvering around all this stuff from the federal government. So I want to make sure that we're using them to our advantage, because they have just as much in it as we do. And aside from bargaining, I think they are going to be a strong ally in collaboration with where we go. So.
Anything else?
Okay. Thank you so much. Great conversation. Moving on to reports and recommendation. Air contract to investigate alternative scheduling options. Dr. Carter.
So let me be clear that I'm asking you to spend money after asking you to cut money, but there's a reason.
You should position that differently.
Exactly. I should have put that first. No, but as a part of us understanding what might be possible in terms of right-sizing our district, we want to do an in-depth investigation of alternative scheduling and the opportunity to kind of redesign the way we do business in Battle Creek. And so AIR is a partner. I talked to a couple different partners. They came in 3 times as much, but one of the things that I like about AIR is they've been with us for 7 years. They understand the context, and so they agreed to come alongside us and do an deep dive understanding of what might be possible in Battle Creek Public Schools in order to present a report to the Board of Education. And so I will use our supplemental grant for this. They are going to investigate alternative scheduling options that include looking at different times, year-round school, balanced calendar, all of those things, and then let us know if it's worth moving forward. And so in the second phase, if after that first report we believe that this is something we want to look for, then they will do a phase 2 of understanding how does the community feel about that change. And so phase 1, I'm asking the board to approve up to $100,000 for this study to be presented to you all in August for discussion and impact of the 26-27 school year. Yes.
What? So, I'm always mind blown how much like studies cost and things like that. What exactly is that 100,000? Like, what are they going to be doing with it?
Absolutely. So the work plan, I think, was in your packet. They're going to do a literature review. They're going to do some preliminary interviews. They're going to do analyses of instructional time. And they're going to submit us a report on similar districts. They're going to look at how time is used in Battle Creek Public Schools and compare that to time in other districts as well. So they have literature review, preliminary interviews, cost analysis, and an analysis of instructional time, the way we use time right now. Those are pieces of the work.
So it's basically like it's their time that we're paying for.
Yes.
It's their personal.
Yes. Yep. And then they're gonna ask us for some. So to put it in perspective, because I looked at that number and I was like, wait. I did talk with another company and they came in at 300,000.
I'll do it for 50.
Yes. So I did, look at other options. So
We will get what we paid for.
I think it's, it's we're paying for the time and their expertise, right? Like, as much as Charlie, if he did it, Rough I did it. It wouldn't be very good. Like, we want to have a proposal that is going to work for the entire community. It's a big, it could be a big change. I say this, but it could be something.
And the way I positioned it as I was thinking about it before bringing it forward was it's a $100,000 investment that could potentially save us over $1 million in costs over time. So sometimes you have to invest to get the return on that investment.
This is with grant money, right?
Yes.
I like how they had already done some of the research, like they talk about Michigan Flex in our calendars already, so they're talking about the things they're gonna dig into, but they already come with that expertise around what other schools are doing.
What would that cost savings like look like?
So can we consolidate some of our schools? Can we use time in a different way? So we could get rid of, if a balanced calendar came through, we could get rid of $500,000 of summer programming, right? Yeah. So it's all of those kinds of cost savings that might be potential.
I think we just had an email. I don't get too many emails. I don't remember if it was my school email or something else. But it was talking about the difference between balanced calendars. So what are the pros and cons? So one of the pros was like teachers. We were talking about teachers having a 9-month schedule versus a full year schedule. And then parents now not having to look for summer programming and alternatives. So if that was our school email, I'll forward it if you don't have it. But I thought it was pretty interesting too, and it speaks to what we're talking about in here.
This is a silly question. If we went from 9-month to year-round, would that increase the pay for those folks, or would it be like
It could, but it doesn't have to. That's the way I'll answer that. And the reason is because you still are doing 180 days of school. So there's a difference between just balancing the calendar, which is you just put your breaks all through. Instead of like having all of your breaks in the summer, you might have 4 weeks at Christmas and 2 additional weeks at, there'll be a midwinter break, those kinds of things. So teachers are still working their 188-day calendar. Then there's the extended school year-round calendar, which would create additional costs. So you would hope to recoup the savings from, you would take your summer school funds, add those onto a teacher calendar or teacher contract. So those are a whole bunch of different potentials, but that's a good question.
So it'll be more than 180 days for kids.
Yes. That's a possibility. Yeah. And I think that's why, because there are so many different variations, I knew that internally we don't have the capacity to do that work well. So I looked to an outside person who can actually do this and give us the information we need to make an informed decision.
All that context. It was just like $100,000 for a study.
I get it.
In the wrong.
Exactly.
Consultations are.
Yeah, one time, just.
Yeah. Any other questions on this? So we'll give you
These are exciting. Potential for positive change.
Great.
Okay, I saw what it said about natural schedules for students, them being a factor. We all know how hard it is for high schoolers to get up early. It can make life easier for parents. You know, I mean, there's just so many benefits, I think. Really. I'm excited about it.
So we'll give you time to really think, make sure that there are no additional questions, and then we'll put this on for a vote in the consent agenda next week.
Moving on to public comment. Do you have any public comment? Thank you. New business, adult ed success coach. I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. President,
Mr. Steve,
I move that we approve adult ed success coach the amount of $112,500. Funding source 107.8.
I second.
It's been moved by trustee Grajak, supported by trustee Nordman. Any discussion?
Just a question.
Yeah.
What are 107?
That's exactly what I was going to ask, so thanks for asking. Mr. Perry is not here, so I don't know. What are 107A funds?
107, Section 107 funds a large portion of adult education. 107A was a subsection that allowed, of that grant that allowed for this particular purpose of the coach.
So it's adult education grant funding.
From the state, yes.
From the state.
This is what it's for.
Any other discussion? Okay, all in favor say yes? Yes. All opposed say no. Motion passes. Superintendent comments?
So one thing I wanted to circle back, because my team is amazing and they send me the information in the middle of the meeting, but I don't look at it. Our K-3 class sizes for contract are 26. Our contract classes for 4th and 5th is 28. And our 6-8 classroom size is 25. Those are really low numbers in comparison to our, but that's what contract is, and we've been well below that for some time. Right. I also want to take a moment to announce to everyone that given all of the changes and the questions that our community and our stakeholders have, I'm going to be doing a listening tour called Voices and Vision, a conversation with the superintendent. And so I'm going to park myself and along with some of our district leaders at 4 different locations throughout the district, and we're inviting parents, family members, anybody, community, to come in and have a conversation, get answers to their question where they don't have to use social media for incorrect information, but just to truly understand what's happening in the district. So I want to find those dates. My apologies. I thought I was ready. Here we go. So the schedule is that, so the conversation is giving our community a space to share their ideas and engage in open dialogue with BCPS leadership. On April 21st, I will be at Valley View at 5:30. That meeting at Valley View is on that side of the city, so that we hope that Springfield, Lamora parents all can come to Valley View. Then we're going to make our way to the other side of the city, and we hope that our Verona parents and individuals that are on the east side of the city will meet me at Post Franklin on April 22nd at 5:30. We'll do a central one that's in the center of the city, so I'll be at Battle Creek Central on May 1st at 5:30. And we are posting all of these on our social media page, and we will send out invites via all of our communication channels. But we also recognize that there are individuals that work evenings, and so we'll have a daytime meeting here in the boardroom on May 1st at 10:30 a.m. So we're trying to make sure that this is accessible to all of our families. We will have that posted, but I really do hope that you will share the message. You will let people know that this is an opportunity to engage in an open dialogue with district leadership, especially as we make plans for the 25-26 school year. The high school is May 1st at 5:30 in the McQuiston Learning Center. And the one here in the boardroom is on May 1st, but that's at 10:30 in the morning.
Oh, okay.
So we'll do 10:30 in the boardroom, and then I'll go over to the high school at 5:30. I also want to take a moment to congratulate Lamora Park Elementary students. They had an incredible art show last week. We're proud of our students and showcase their skills and their imagination. They did a great job. And we definitely want to send a shout out, which I think Trustee McClenny, I'm stealing his thunder, but I'll let him talk about the Grand Valley State University graduates. But what was most impressive to me is that we have 60 students currently enrolled at Grand Valley State University, all of which are achieving a 90% retention rate. And we had 15 students on the dean's list last semester. So congratulations to the Grand Valley State University cohort of students that are doing an amazing job. Finally, we have a BCPS improvement bond that we're asking our community to support in approaching us on May 6th. Remember to cast your ballot. Visit our website for more information. There have been lots of questions regarding this, and I want to be clear that those improvements are really scheduled for buildings with children in them. And so when you think about where are the security upgrades, the roofing restoration, the updated playground, CW posts are all of our facilities that are in use right now and that are in need. We want to make sure that our community understands that we need $100 million worth of improvements and upgrades. This bond will help us with that, and it helps us not have to use the operational funds that we're already having to reduce on our buildings and facilities. So we hope that you will spread the word and vote on May 6th. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Yes. Board member comments. Trustee McClenny.
I had to get myself together because I feel like I'm in deja vu talking about deficits and cuts, and it's deja vu to me all over again. So I seemed a little out of it and quiet. I am, because I didn't want to be here again. And I sat there and I said what was coming. And so I'm a little put out. Been through it. Here we are again. But the good thing is, it's not just us. It's everybody. So, having said that, Superintendent Carter is right. When I think about sitting here all these years and make decisions, and I think about the kids that are in the Grand Valley program and college, I attended the banquet, the graduation banquet, Superintendent Carter and Ms. McClenny, Ms. McClenny. I wasn't going to go, but I had to do the driving. So I went. But I'll say that to say this. I was so happy, and Carter could probably tell you, I was so happy that I went, because I walked into that room and I started to see faces. I'm like, hey, those are our students, not realizing, duh, this is for us, for our students. But to see our students, I think she said it was 60 that we have on campus, but we had 8 who are scheduled for graduations. And I was going to call their names, but I really don't want to butcher anybody's name, so I'm not going to do that. I will say this, one student in particular, her name was April Buren, and she's graduating in biomedical science. Her story was unique. It touched me. I remember hearing about this, but it's one of those things when you kind of push to the back of your mind. But what she talked about was she's at Grand Valley and she's getting ready to graduate, and her mother could not be there, can't be there. She was the student. It was in the paper a while ago, some time ago. Her mother, because of she wasn't a citizen, so her mother had to go back to Mexico. And she talked about this and how hard it was for her, her ups and her downs, but she made it. And I think she was, I was trying to remember if she was at the top of her class. And yes, she was at the top. And she was the speaker, the student speaker. And just to sit there and hear her story and hear her success, and tell her story about her mom not being able to come and attend, you had to be there to hear she struggled, but she got through it. But to hear her pain of her mom not being able to attend. But I was so happy that she got through her speech and she talked about her experiences at Battle Creek Public Schools and the support she got from Grand Valley. So sitting here, we make these decisions. But that was my first time seeing the class. I think that was our first graduating class. The second. To see them graduate college, and you go, okay, this is what it's all about. You see those kids up there graduate college on what Battle Creek Public School has to offer. There was another young man. There was another young man who he didn't talk much, but he said, and I will never forget his words. He said, I wasn't going to talk. I struggled. I struggled a lot. He said, but I made it. And that's pretty much all. And he said, he talked about all the students from Battle Creek that helped him get through college. And he made it. That's all he said, but it hit me. I was like, okay, this is why we do what we do. So I am really happy and I was pleased and I'm glad I took the trip. I would suggest that anybody is on this board, I've been on it a while, but if you want to see, yeah, we do our high school graduation and that's cool, but to see those kids graduate from college, I was like, yeah, I've seen my own graduate, but to see other kids graduate all from here, those 8, and then see the other ones who showed up for support, this is what it's about. So I was glad to be there. You did not steal my thunder. I would have liked if other people had been there, and I suggest in the past that we, in the future that you do. I would like to see us follow those kids more. It was a different experience for me, and I'm a hard person. Other than that, like I said, that's my good note, my sour note, so to speak, Because I've heard conversations here tonight, and I didn't want to be the grouchy old man, because that's the way I look at it, especially when we talk about what needs to be done and what may be done, what may have to be done in terms of combining district. Those are conversations. I'm glad some of you younger folks are sitting here, because the old guy like me is like, absolutely not, knowing what is happening with education in our city. So I'm glad some of you are sitting here. Me, I don't know. I just know it feels like deja vu again, and I didn't think we would be here again. So that's it. Didn't mean to go on, but
However, this time not of our own doing.
out of our own doing.
So I have a couple comments. One, I appreciated attending the National School Board Association conference. I do not take that investment lightly. So yeah, I know I'm usually one like when we do professional development, how we gonna use it, right? So I want to share just a few highlights as well as my own commitment. So I just want to say thank you for supporting me attending. One session was on creating conditions for high quality special education on a budget. It was really interesting. They, kind of grounded us in the 7 core principles of special education. And I actually left with more questions than answers, which is good. So I plan to send those to Dr. Carter for a learning for us. I remember the first time we were going over the CISD budget, and I felt kind of clueless because I'm like, I don't even know what what's funded. I don't know enough about special education, but a couple of things that I appreciated. She talked about 5 keys to joyful inclusion. She talked about the power of teachers who believe students can learn, for special education students in particular, but I would say that's for all students. And then collective efficacy, having the largest difference in student achievement. So teachers who are working together, having the opportunity to collaborate has been shown to be powerful. And then another one that was really interesting was reaching the wounded student and staff for better academic achievement. And this session really talked about trauma-informed work. Having a no failure attitude, like really living into no student left behind and what that really means. Learning taking place in relationship, extending grace and mercy, restorative discipline, and community service. Some of that is familiar to us. And then the one that I loved was the one called Groovy Leadership. So lessons learned from the DJ table with Sean Buchanan. Yeah, have you heard of him? He is a DJ and a superintendent. Geary Public Schools. It was fun. He's also, I would say, low-key a comedian. Like, it was fun. It was engaging. His humor was just my type of humor because it was edgy. But it did also have some nuggets. I would encourage you to follow him on social media. But one of the things I appreciated, he shared some really real stories of really like brave leadership, and one of his competencies being you have to have a love for all students, period. Like, if you can't be here because you only like to work with this group or that, no, you have to have a love for all kids from the board all the way throughout the district. You can't want to serve on the board just because it's your kid, or right? Like, you have to have a love for all kids. And then he talked about with his teachers, the agreement as a teacher isn't if the parents participate, it's if, it's not if. You can't be a teacher and say, well, I want to be a teacher if the parents participate and if homes are intact and if, right? Like, no, we can't do that here. So, one of the things that, and he even shared like an example of having his sister work as a teacher, and she was there kind of like, I can't do this, and told the student she was done, and he fired her. So I just really appreciated that. So he had 5 lessons. 1, start. 2, self-awareness is key. Know your why. 3, if you stop, it won't happen. 4, you have to mean it if you're going to say it. And 5, confidence is key. And 6, stay in the fray. So my commitments, I really want to really his session made me like so energized, as well as some of the entertainment for Northwestern's Visual Performing Arts School. I was telling the chair like, oh my gosh, this gets me, because it was just so culturally accepting, and it just really made me excited for our kids to be able to be themselves and use art and culture, be it hip hop or gospel or whatever it is, that they can live in it and integrate that with education. So one of my commitments is really to live into the vision in my role as a board member as an inspiring youth-centered learning environment that just is high energy. And then my second commitment is elevate the support of our special education students. So I'll be sharing some questions, and maybe we could do a session to understand more about special education. And then 3, having more clarity on what it really means to be a trauma-informed district as we think about our strategy. So thank you for allowing me to come. And then I have 2 quick announcements. We were talking about all the federal changes. On Thursday, let me pull it up, at the Cool Center, there is TRHT, Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion at a Crossroads, from 5 to 6:30. And I think just being in community right now will help us just guide our discussions and decisions. It's featuring James Liggins Jr., Dr. Van McMullen from Bronson, Chris Sargent from United Way, Claire Tanner from the ARC, and then Ty from TRHT. And the last thing I wanted to say, I attended Women's History Month. They had an event, TRHT did, at the Cool Center, and I just want to give a shout out to Principal McClintock, because she represented Battle Creek Public Schools, and she did a wonderful job at just being real and honest. And I will say there was a lot of big ups to Battle Creek Public Schools. You were there, and a lot of even the panelists talked about having graduated from Battle Creek Public, and even drawing the question like, why? What do we want to do about the narrative that you have to leave, right? So that was a big message. So I just want to say that was a good event and give a kudos to her representation.
Thank you. Any other board member comments? Go ahead, Trustee Burdick.
Thank you. I was also really glad and excited to have a chance to go to National School Board Association conference in Atlanta. Because my background, I chose a lot of things that had to do with like mental health and that sort of thing. And one thing I've heard come up a few times was social media and technology in general, and the impact, the intersection between that and mental health for students as well as for staff. What it's like to be on a fishbowl constantly as a teacher or a building worker, where the kid could be recording at any time. Stress that could put on, even for people don't need to hide, it's stressful. And then for the kids, constantly taking all the things home with them and having access to it all the time. There's a lot of talk about ways to mitigate phone use in classrooms, the pouches that lock, that sort of thing. I think they're starting to be more and more prevalent across the country. Some exciting ideas there. I also went to a really sobering session about the way predators groom children for exploitation, and made me think differently about some things like the way the person could be staff or helper, volunteer, that it's like you always want to be the one that you don't suspect, right? Going above and beyond, and like how to really examine that. And the one thing we kept hammering home again and again and again was the idea of absolutely zero unmonitored and uninterruptible one-on-one communication between adult and child, like in any capacity, be it in person or online. Like, there's no reason the adult should be emailing a single student, for example, even if it's just like a one-time thing. Just having really, really strong policy about that and procedure about that, and not just in the school, but like all our peripheral, like, boosters and this and that, kind of that are on the outsides. It was really sobering. Into the numbers they were saying in case examples were pretty intense. That was a good takeaway from me. But again, every time we appreciate it. And I also was, at least on a positive note, really, really moved by the musical performance. I kept like, these are high school students. They had on stage doing music, doing dance, doing all kinds of really amazing stuff, and it was like, this is like, these high school kids are like professionals. Like I I'm also very excited about the Northwestern opportunities we have there. We grow our performing arts.
Any other board members?
I have a couple. One is I went to a birthday party, an 80th birthday party for someone who was my sorority sister, but she retired from Battle Creek Public School. So you all made me think about the legacy and the impact that we have as a community. And her name is Barbara Burris, and she had one of her former students speak, and then Dr. Youngblood was there speaking as a former principal. So that was really heartwarming. I did not have to have her because I didn't go to. I think she was at ANJ.
She was at Washington.
Washington. Probably a couple schools. So I don't know all her schools, but I went to Urbandale, so I didn't have her. So, but it was still touching to see the impact, and then even the former student she had speak, saying like she did appreciate her then, appreciate her now. So great educators coming through Battle Creek Public. And it's spring season, so spring sports, track and field is starting up. So I would be remiss if I didn't say anything about that. So I will be trying to get out and check out our spring sports and support our students in those extracurriculars. Big advocate for that because that pays for my college, well, my academics for Battle Creek Public, but there is a lot of value in our extracurriculars and supporting our students through those. So.
Any other board member comments? So I do want to add, I know it's going to seem repetitive, but the National School Board Association that I attended with Trustee Grajek and Trustee Johnson, I did want to just acknowledge that there was like, from the whole weekend, like 50 courses or classes we could all choose, and I was not in any one of their classes. So I think we were very well spread out and got so much knowledge because we didn't attend any classes together, which I think is great because we got to learn so much different opportunities. And I was also the general sessions where we did attend together. Every general session had singing or dancing or show choir, my favorite. And it just made me also really excited about Northwestern Academy and what great things that's going to bring to our community. So I wanted to acknowledge that, and I think that's all. So with that being said, great things are happening in Battle Creek Public Schools. Meeting adjourned. Howdy,